Alright, so it's super windy out today, so for the form video, I have filmed it in segments and I'm kind of gluing them together. So I filmed all the running segments outside, and right now I'm going to talk through what each segment shows, and they'll be put together hopefully in an orderly video for you. So the very first clip you're going to see is I just ran a length of a parking lot at what comes to me as my personal natural stride. Nothing fancy, not trying to think about form, nothing. Like just my personal, natural, flowy, slow-paced stride. From there, I kind of broke it down into a few more segments of like talking about what we had discussed with your leaning back and your overstriding, and then step through the different corrections. So I'm going to cut this here.
Yeah, it's videoing.
Okay, so this next segment is I am doing my best to embody kind of what I'm seeing in your running, which is you're really leaning back and overstriding, a lot more heel striking than forefoot striking. And I know for myself, like going and trying to run this, I started laughing partway through the clip because it felt so wrong and so stupid. But I also know at one point, if I look back at my own running, that this is how I ran. I ran like this too many years ago. So I don't want you to feel like it's just going to automatically correct itself. It takes time and practice and a lot of awareness of how your body is landing with each other. So this next clip is just kind of my best embodiment of how I feel like you're running. Obviously it's not going to be exactly, I'm not you, I don't have your body. And we're going to go ahead and talk about some of those tips that I gave you for working on improving your form. All right, so this first form edit that I did is really worked on sinking into my hips. So sitting down into my stride. So you'll see before I even get started, the first cue I give myself is to rotate my hips back and kind of pull those ribs down and in like we've talked about in the past. That's the first cue I'm gonna give myself before I even start running. And then I go. And I kind of look like I'm squat running. And that's okay. Like that's how you start getting kind of these cues in, is you sit down, bring those rib cages in, and you squat run. Looks kind of funny, feels really funny, not gonna lie to you. And what that does is it forces your feet to land more underneath your center of body, which is what we're trying to do. Bring in that overstride so you're not overstriding. I'm still overstriding in this first video where I'm still sitting down, but it's better. And I'm not leaning back so far, I'm a little more upright and straight. So it's a little bit of correction on both ends, doesn't get all of it, but it's kind of your first cue as to when I talk about sitting into your stride is quite literally like rotating your hips back, bringing those ribs in, and sitting down into your stride, kind of like you're squatting while you're running.
Okay.
Dad, stop! Dad, stop!
All right, so this last clip, my cue is more on the lean forward. So you'll notice I put one hand on my chest, kind of one hand on my back, and I cued myself just to lean forward, but it didn't go anywhere. So I lean forward, I don't go anywhere, hold it for a second, and then I run. And my intention is kind of keep that lean forward throughout that whole run, and also sit back. And towards the end of this clip, I did take a moment to kind of speed up. So I wanted you to see what it looked like when you pick your feet up a little bit more and go a little bit faster. I didn't go super fast. This is not a sprint by any means. This is just kind of taking a second to pick up pace, just so you can see how it fluctuates through different paces. But it's kind of a really easy exercise you can do. Is you just stand there, hand on your chest, hand on your back, really like bring those ribs in, just hold yourself straight. And how far forward can you lean but leaving your heels touching the ground is a really good way to work on that forward lean, not leaning back, as like a prep going into a run.
I'm ready. Video.
Okay, so that's all of the tips that we've talked about so far for working on improving your form. So we just a recap. The first clip you saw was my personal natural stride. Then I tried my best to over-exaggerate what I'm currently seeing in you, and I gave 2 major tips on working to start correcting that form, starting with getting our feet underneath our center of body by squatting or sitting down into our stride, and then working on a forward lean using kind of that just gentle cue. When you put them all together, it takes a lot of mental connection. You're going to find yourself starting and then you'll be like, oh, I stood up straighter. It feels weird. You have to cue yourself over and over again for it to really work. And there's Riley Bob. So let me know if you have any questions on it. And like I said, these are just starting points for working on that form.